Oh, hello there, friends. It's host Eric and his beloved darling Rachel beside him. And together, we're here today making a video to you about something. Specifically, something Rachel was talking about earlier, that in a conversation she was having with some various parties, it was mentioned that somebody didn't describe to, let's say, the limits of the slots. So I wanted to give an analogy of sorts regarding that. First of all, when people say they don't like the slots or something, what they really mean is they don't like an understanding of personality that acknowledges that aspects of personality are fundamentally not skills. That you can't develop your personality definitionally because it's the part of you that doesn't change. So there's that, first and foremost. But it's also the case that people are right about slots not really being a thing per se, because it's just a convenient way for us to talk about expressions of the dominant and tool function, which is to say how an individual expresses as a pairing of an absolute and an instrumental value. That dictates what a person is. But that means that because I have an absolute value of extroverted intuition, and because I have an instrumental value of introverted thinking, that my relationship with another cognitive function that somebody else might experience very differently, like introverted feeling, is defined by the fact that my instrumental value is introverted thinking. That just as my vehicle being a car means that I'm not getting where I'm going by boat, so too is it the case that having my tool be a disinterested calculus and or a deductively consistent set of arguments, that kind of thing, being a tool function, in other words, checking against consistency of the tool function, means inherently that I am not paying attention to things that don't link to consistency, but instead undermine it, such as personal interest. So you might think about it like this. There are people in the world who are ducks. For example, ESTJs are kind of like ducks. ENTPs are kind of like ducks. And they go, alright, cognitive functions are bullshit. Slots are bullshit because I'm a duck. You say people either fly or swim or walk. But I do all three. Well, that's true. Certain types on the more testable ones, which are the ones that present linkages that are very concrete to bits of external data, then it is true that some people will test well on all of those because of their particular stack. But that doesn't mean that because they're a duck, it's not true that, say, a tuna swims and is a swimmer in a way that a duck is not. A duck floats on top of water, a duck may dive underwater, a duck may even swim underwater for a little while, but a duck is fundamentally not a swimmer. So when we talk about rejecting slots, what the people who talk about that are really saying, what they really mean is, I don't like the idea that I have to be bad at something to be something. That I have to excise, relinquish, kill a half of the potentiality in order to realize the other half of the potentiality. But that's how reality works. I can't both be tall and short. We understand this very clearly when it comes to physicalities, right? Like, I can't both be tall enough to be a basketball player and short enough to be a horse jockey. It's not possible to be both, and it is possible, nevertheless, for a tall person to ride a horse or a short person to play basketball. So the issue here then is people mistake the ability to score well on some assessment that links to a cognitive function to an actual cognitive function. Of course you can't prove your cognitive functions, because a cognitive function configuration is not a series of skills you have. Instead, it's a description of how your strengths necessarily define your weaknesses. So for those of you who think you can avoid that, you're wrong, and you're probably wrong because of a cognitive function deficit. You're just proving my point.